Okay, so we're here in your math notebook, and we are on a new page. Make this page 18. Properties of addition and multiplication. Remember that both the left and the right have the same page number. Now, when we say properties, sometimes we're using the word to mean like something you own, like it's my property. But sometimes we're using the words to describe how things behave or characteristics they have. Like we're going to talk about in science, the properties of a substance, meaning how those things act, what they are like. So when we talk about properties of addition and multiplication, we're talking about how addition and multiplication behave. And we're going to start today with some of the easy ones. First, we have two kind of magic numbers when it comes to addition and multiplication, and that is 0 and 1. So we're going to start with properties of 0. You might be thinking, what is happening here? But I promise it's easier than it sounds. So there are two big properties of 0 that we're going to talk about. One is the addition property of 0. And yes, you have to write this out. I'm smiling, but you can't see it because my webcam's not set up. And the addition property of 0 just says that any number plus 0 and sometimes when we write a 0, we put a line through it like that so we know it's not an O, will equal that number. Whatever this was. So another way to write this would be x plus 0 equals x. We could also do a bunch of examples. So 1 plus 0 equals 1. 5 plus 0 equals 5. 1032 plus 0 equals 1032. So in terms of using this to simplify an expression, if we get the expression 3x plus 0, which right now has 1, 2 terms, we can simplify that to just 3x, which has 1 term. All right, so there's the first property of 0. The next property of 0 is the multiplication property of 0. And the multiplication property of 0 says that any number times 0 is 0. I'm going to write that a little differently so it might make sense. So another way to write that would be 0x equals 0. Some examples would be 3 times 0 equals 0. 5 times 0 equals 0. 1032 times 0 equals 0. So another example of using this might be 3 times x times y times 0, which right now has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Even if I simplified that to 3xy times 0, it still has 1, 2 terms. Anything times 0 is 0, so I can simplify down to 1 term. If there's a times 0 in there, that multiplication is going to turn out to be 0. So those are the properties of 0. There's one property of 1. That helps us simplify expressions. I wrote properties of 1. I should have written just property of 1. Whoops. Live and learn. And it is the multiplication property of 1. And this property says that any number times 1 equals that number. So it's similar in that way to the, oops, that's kind of look like that arrow. Similar in that way to one of the properties up here. So examples would be 1 times 1 equals 1. 5 times 1 equals 5. 1032 times 1 equals 1032. So we're always, just like here, where when we add 0, it always goes back to the original number. Down here, whenever we multiply by 1, it always goes back to the original number. So to use this to simplify an expression, if we have 1 times 14x, that currently has 1, 2 terms. We can simplify it to just be 14x, which only has 1 term. And those are the 3 properties we're talking about in this video.